At first glance, a forest appears to be nothing more than a great blanket of green. All you see are the trees. As you enter the forest, especially if it's a natural wild forest, you notice that it's made up of different types of trees. Here on the southwest coast of British Columbia, there is an abundance of species, conifers or evergreens, and deciduous. You'll find bird life and small mammals like squirrels, chipmunks, field mice, and shrews. And if you're quiet, you may even encounter a deer browsing, lazily snacking on the underbrush. A natural forest is a fantastic mosaic of life, an incredibly complex ecosystem where all living things interact, support, and depend on each other. This forest looks untouched. There is a mix of species of all ages and all sizes, including old-growth trees. As you look closer, you'll find evidence of humans, stumps that have been cut with a chainsaw, and skidder trails. This is Merv Wilkinson's Wildwood Forest. He's been harvesting timber here for over 50 years. In the period from 1945 to 1995, he actually replaced the volume of standing timber in his forest. Over the years, he has cut many of the big trees out, resulting in a denser forest with smaller stems. But after 50 years of selection harvesting, he still has a similar forest and he still has the volume of timber he started out with. More importantly, the natural systems are intact. Scientists from all over the world have come here to study this forest. Students from a local college come to Wildwood because it is the only forest in the area with old-growth characteristics. Basically, that's what this program is all about. Harvesting timber while maintaining the natural systems in the forest as well as the forest itself. Much of this program was filmed at Wildwood. It is a fantastic example of the potential for this type of forestry. We will also be looking at harvesting techniques, planning and marketing potential for second growth forests. In BC, there are approximately 500,000 hectares of second growth forests that are between 40 and 120 years old, and there is an opportunity to restore them to a natural state. Merv's motto throughout the years has been to work with Mother Nature because nature knows best. He has never planted a seedling or used commercial fertilizers of any kind on his property. The health of his forests and the quality of his wood suggest that his instincts and his methods are correct. The topsoil is nature's foundation, and like many things in nature, the forest and the soil support and depend on each other. Soil is made up of different layers. The top layer, or humus, which may only be a couple of inches deep, is where the trees and other plants get most of their nutrients from. Humus is nature's fertilizer, made up of rotting organic material like leaves, needles, and rotting wood. Below that is the subsoil, and it provides minerals, stored water, and anchorage for the trees. Subsoils can consist of different types of material: dirt, clay, sand, silt, and this will affect the drainage of the surrounding area. A natural forest on BC's southwest coast is made up of different conifers, mainly cedar, hemlock, Douglas fir, grand fir, and a variety of deciduous trees such as maple, alder, cottonwood, and willow, to name a few. Many of the deciduous trees help to build the top, organic or humus layer of the soil with the shedding of their leaves. Others, like alder and broom, which is a non-native plant, have an additional role in the forest. They are commonly known as nitrogen-fixing plants. They coexist with bacteria in their roots that convert or fix nitrogen from the atmosphere to enrich the soil so that other plants can have nitrogen available to feed off. These species can grow on very poor soil, preparing it for other species to follow. Red alder, for example, may be the first type of tree to grow on a natural slide area or after a fire. Alder grows quickly, its roots holding the topsoil in place while at the same time providing a cover crop for the other trees. Initially, it may retard the growth of young conifer seedlings. It can be thinned to open the canopy, or, if left alone, it will die off quickly, releasing the younger trees. Alder snags will rot quickly, filling up with insects, attracting birds and woodpeckers, nature's insect control agents. Earlier, we said Merv has never used fertilizer of any type. Over the years, he has observed that the debris from the trees that he harvests are nature's fertilizer. When he falls a tree, he leaves all of the branches and the top on the ground to rot and enrich the soil. Sometimes he will even leave a large piece of low-grade log behind.
This is what we call a nurse log in forestry. It's a piece of timber that was not good enough to take out of the woods because it didn't have enough use. And so you leave it behind to form habitat and food for the next generation of tree. This now is feeding this tree very heavily. On this, as it begins to decay, we have huckleberries that come on, which are really a food plant for our native population and for anyone that wants to use it. We have dewberries, another food-producing plant. Here's a young fir tree, a young seedling, which will grow very well on this and eventually put its roots right down through the rotten wood into the ground. And this functions as habitat for wildlife in that we have insects that live in it. Then we have the woodpeckers that come after the insects. We have, as the bark comes loose, we have the squirrel hides his cones, his winter supply of food in here. A small vole or a mouse, which are essential to our forest, being chased by an owl, can dive in here and save himself. So it is really an amazing thing in that piece of wood.
Merv has never planted a seedling here. It's all natural regeneration. Some of the seed trees are over 1,000 years old. They have survived fire, drought, and infestation. That experience is written in their genetic code, and they pass that information on in their seeds for future generations to follow. Over the years, Merv has observed that the best tree planters work for literally peanuts.
The squirrels in the forest harvest seeds to take them over the winter, and they always harvest more than they use, with the result that some very, very good seed is put in the soil into areas where they will germinate well because the storage and possibilities of potentials there are good for the seed. The seed will keep for a long, long period of time. So the squirrel puts the seed in a very, very special place, so it will keep for him, but also it produces the next forest. Where you have a good balanced forest, that is ecologically balanced, and you have all the factors in the forest that should be there, your squirrels and the wind and other natural seeding. Birds carry some seeds and so on. And you have a natural seeding process that makes planting completely unnecessary.
The trees in the soil also work together to hold moisture in the soil so that it is released slowly back into the streams and rivers. Without the trees to intercept the rainfall, it simply runs off, eroding and carrying away the topsoil. And because there is nothing to moderate the extremes of rainfall and snow accumulation, streams that could normally have water in them all year long may dry up in the late summer and early fall and put resident fish such as trout at risk. Long-term observation is key to good forest management. By managing the forest using ecoforestry techniques and sustainable selection harvesting methods, you can maintain the natural systems in the soil as well as the trees. Nature will do the rest in terms of natural fertilizing and reforestation. In a second growth forest, you may have to do some planting if natural reforestation does not work, and this seldom occurs, to get a proper balance and mix of species. The severity, size, and frequency of disturbance is the key. If you are working in a second growth monospecies forest, you can help the forest back to its natural state. All it takes is doing what nature has done on these same sites over the centuries. If light-demanding species, such as Douglas fir, are desired, then a higher level of disturbance, i.e., larger openings, are needed. If shade-demanding species are desired, then lighter thinnings will likely do the job. Working on nature's time frame is best, and a 100-year-old Douglas fir forest is just a teenager.